here's the amazing thing right now with the Joe Biden affair. People are starting to notice. People on the left are starting to notice and starting to talk about it. I've got an article here from Time magazine where they spent some time at Time with the president, and it's not a glowing, we love him, he's perfectly fine, and he's sharp as a tack kind of stuff.
He's their boy.
I know. And then the Wall Street Journal, which editorially, the Wall Street Journal is a little more conservative than others, like the Post and the New York Times. But their main articles usually aren't. Their main articles are like everybody else. Well, they've got an article called Behind Closed Doors. I think it came out just this morning. Biden shows signs of slipping.
Oh, wow.
You think? In front of the closed doors, he's also showing signs of slipping. And he has been. We've been trying to tell you this for 4 stinking years.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Welcome to the world.
Well, it was reported the other day at that fundraiser that he was at when he was bad-mouthing the convicted felon, Donald Trump, that I wouldn't want him to be president whether I'm president or not, or whether I was running for president or not. You know, he threw a line out there like made everyone
he shouldn't
think
ever
that,
be president, is what he's saying. But they're trying to say, I may not be when it comes out time. Yeah. I don't know. That would be nice.
I don't know that I buy that.
I'd love to see him get out of it.
I don't know that I buy that from him.
No, I don't.
So how many articles did you just reference over there?
2, at least.
Okay, so I've got a completely different one here from the New York Post. I mean, the headline is Biden showing signs of decline as polls aides detail 81-year-old slipping cognitive fitness.
Now, you would expect that in the Post.
Yeah. Right. That's why I thought, okay, but then you had, what was it?
This is Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
And Time Magazine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Listen to this from Wall Street Journal. When President Biden met with congressional leaders in the West Wing in January to negotiate a Ukraine funding deal, he spoke so softly at times that some participants struggled to hear him, no big deal, but it's because you talk like this. And it can be a problem in meetings and things. According to 5 people familiar with the meeting. So it wasn't just some butthhook who doesn't like him that said, I couldn't even hear the guy. 5 people. He read from notes to make obvious points. He always does.
Which we talked about.
Paused for extended periods and sometimes closed his eyes for so long that some in the room wondered whether he had checked out.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
In a February one-on-one chat.
And who's going to reach out to him and,
Yeah, nobody.
Nobody's going to reach out.
Nobody's going to feel his pulse.
Is he dead? Is he alive?
Did you just die? In a February one-on-one chat in the Oval Office with House Speaker Mike Johnson, the president said a recent policy change by his administration that jeopardizes some big energy projects was just a study. No, this was a policy change. He called it a study. It's his policy.
Of course.
No.
According to 6 people who said at the time, Johnson worried the president's memory had slipped about the details of his own policy. Yeah, you're putting it very mildly.
No kidding.
It's quite obvious that was the case.
With all this coming out now, that's pretty...
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah. And this is a good time for it to come out. You might even wait a while because this has to be in people's minds when they go to the polls. Yeah. Last year, when Biden was negotiating with House Republicans to lift the debt ceiling, his demeanor and command of the details seemed to shift from one day to the next, according to then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and 2 others familiar with the talks. On some days, he had loose and spontaneous exchanges with Republicans, and others he mumbled and appeared to rely on notes and didn't know what was going on. It's incredible how, and we've made this observation before. There are days when the medication kicks in, and it's doing a better job with him, or it's earlier in the day, or I'm not sure what all of the parameters are of him having a good day, but he's capable of some...
The parameters do change, though, for him.
There's
no question.
They do. Yeah. Sometimes he's much worse than others.
Which is, I'm sure that they pointed out in some of their articles why, the president would, put a lid on his day at 10 a.m.
Earlier than that,
earlier.
Yeah. In fact, those three stories that you just mentioned, Pat, are also detailed in this New York Post story. Really, the only thing I can add is that Mike Johnson thing. They said that the exchange left Johnson dismayed. Yeah, welcome to the club.
Right.
And then the Ukraine one. Someone was quoted as saying that was in the meeting, quote, "You couldn't be there and not feel uncomfortable." And that's our nation.
I'm telling you.
I mean, how many times have we actually witnessed that?
Yeah,
and
over and over
aired
and over
it on
again.
this show.
And that's behind closed doors.
Right.
We see him in front of the camera all the time, and he's terrible. He's terrible.
Not behind closed doors.
Right in front of them. Then this Time article talks about some of his policies too. They say Joe Biden makes his way through the West Wing telling stories. Yeah, I bet he does.
Oh, my God.
In the cabinet room,
agonizing.
with sun pouring through French doors from the Rose Garden outside, get this, he remembers the first time he sat around the long mahogany table. It's high-backed leather chairs ordered by seniority. It was more than 50 years ago, Biden says, and Richard Nixon told... I mean, this is sad. That 50 years ago, he's got stories of being there. That tells you there's a problem here.
No kidding.
Right? It tells you, this is a problem. Yeah. Walking slowly through the halls, the president unspools anecdotes about heads of state. Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Emmanuel Macron. What do you want to bet? It's the Tibetan Plateau story.
It's absolutely
I
the
bet
same
you
story.
$1 million.
And
it's the Tibetan Plateau story.
It's also Charles de Gaulle.
Yeah,
he probably screws it up, too.
Probably.
And he's looking out the window at the flower garden. Mr. President, are you okay? Just remember him, Bo.
Then we got this part of the Time magazine story. American presidents must earn a mandate from their fellow citizens, and it's far from clear that Biden can. In surveys, large majorities say he's too old to lead. As he walked Time through the West Wing and sat for a 35-minute interview on May 28th, the president, with his stiff gait, muffled voice, and fitful syntax, cut a strike. This is Time magazine. Cut a contrast with the intense, loquacious figure who served as senator and vice president. So they're comparing Biden to Biden, which is great. Because when we play old clips of him,
we see it.
The difference is staggering.
Dramatic.
It's amazing. Asked whether he could handle its rigors through the end of the second term when he'll be 86, he shot back, "I can do it better than anybody you know."
Oh, my gosh.
But they don't. Obviously, when you read the article, they do not buy it. So even Time magazine starting to have their doubts. Welcome to the party, Time.
It's a great recap of him walking them into the
I love it.
Interview.
I love it.
Is this the article that Harry Sisson, absolutely loves the cover of?
Yes, it is. Okay. Yes, it is. That's the one that do you have the Sisson quote? Yeah.
So put the tweet up, please.
Look at that.
That shows Harry Sisson, the paid Democrat shill.
If he wins.
Yeah, what does he say there?
Wow, I'm blown away by this cover photo of President Biden for Time magazine. He's standing firmly behind the resolution. No, he's holding on for dear life, because if he doesn't, he falls flat on his face. He's holding firmly to the resolute desk, ready to put it all on the line to fight for Americans. This is a man who's dedicated to the country 4 more years.
Wow.
Buffoon.
Look how serious he looks. Boy,
doesn't he, though?
He's ready to.
If he wins, that's not a necessarily positive headline either. If he wins, well, what about? And then you go to the article.
Getting so close to his face.
And if he wins, it could be really bad for America.
For everyone involved.
Now, they've got, there's some contrasting points of view, and they talk to Democrats who don't think he's as bad as others who spend time with him. But for Time magazine to even point it out,
that's interesting.
We've made a lot of progress.
Because
are they trying to be relevant again? I mean, because nobody. I mean, they have Trump on another one too, right? They have 2 covers, one with Biden, one with Trump.
Oh,
so there is
I believe there's a Trump interview as well.
Okay,
and it's Time magazine. I mean, who knew they existed?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I know that they still
magazines are just not relevant anymore.
I see what you're saying, Jeffy. You mentioned this earlier, didn't you? About the horns, the way they've got.
No, Chris did.
Oh, Chris did.
Yeah, Chris mentioned the horns.
Oh, okay. The way they positioned his head so the M winds up in two peaks behind his head.
Interesting how they did that.
That is interesting. Yeah.
That's the second time they do that to him.
You're right.
Yeah.
You know that's a subliminal thing.
It's the same thing.
Yep. Let's make Trump look like the devil.
Yep.
That's what that is.
Because you could have done it with Biden too, zoom in a little bit closer, but no.
They didn't. You notice?
I'm sorry.
They did not.
They did not.
You're trying to send a message.
The peaks of the M are nowhere near the top of Biden's head. Look at that.
He has a gap.
Yeah.
You could give him the same gap to Trump.
Unreal.
It's stupid.
It's a little different than Rolling Stone airbrushing the crotch of Al Gore on the eve of the 2000 election, if you recall that. You remember that?
I do remember that.
Oh, it's so bad.
I do remember that.